Hi, I'm Nathan Lusk with Warrior with a Pen Games, and today we're going to go over DetoNations. It is a game, it's a very simple game of card collection where you're trying to build a set of cards that you turn in to build a part of your country's nuclear bomb. The first country to build a nuke and successfully test that nuke is the winner of the game. So to do that, you collect sets of cards, you turn them in for pieces of your missile, and then once you get all 6 pieces of your missile, you have to successfully test it. And some of these parts are not very good. There are 6 different parts to your missile, and in every different part, it can be a really, really good part, even a perfect part that never fails, or it can be a really, really terrible part that has a really horrible chance of actually succeeding. And so the game becomes a real cluster of failure where you and your friends are laughing at each other's failures over and over again until suddenly, out of pure luck and joy, a combination of really fun dice rolls and just getting some good luck in there, someone suddenly wins the game. It is extremely luck-based. It's just a really fun game to play with friends and have a good conversation while you laugh at each other's failures. So the game is very simple. There are 6 different countries to choose from, and each one of them plays the game completely differently. There are the United Conglomerated Amalgamates, and they start out with 4 cards in their hand, 4 of the cards that you're trying to make sets out of. A set for them requires 3 that match. They draw 2 cards at a time when it's their turn, and their hand can have a maximum of 10 cards. They're also allowed to take off of the discard pile. If someone leaves discards in front of them, they're allowed to take up to 2 of their draw cards from the discard pile rather than the draw pile. Then there's Jikatagistan, and the rest of the United Conglomerated Amalgamates. They also, each country has a different special ability other than just a difference in the way they play the game. When the United Conglomerated Amalgamates turns in a set of 3 cards to get a part for their missile, they actually take the top 2 parts for their missile from that stack, and they get to pick which one they want, and they have to give the other part to another country that doesn't have that part yet, whether it's good or bad. So they always make 2, and then they give 1 away. If all opponents do have that part already, then no one gets it. He puts it back on the bottom of that deck. So then there's Jikatagistan. When one of your parts fails, destroy the corresponding part on any other opponent's bomb. So if they have a completed rocket or missile bomb and they're testing it and one of their rolls fails, so that destroys the part that they had when it fails, they now get to turn to any other player that has that same part and destroy their same part that they just lost themselves. Now they start with 5 cards in their hand. The set for them is also 3. They only draw 1 card at a time, and their maximum hand size is only 7. However, anytime anyone else discards a card, that card gets discarded to Jikatagistan, who decides if they want to keep that card or put it back if their hand is already too full. If they already have 7, then they can discard it instead, or discard something else and keep it. It's up to them. Then there are the Kilted Knights of the hexagonal table. When any opponent buys a part, they immediately draw cards according to a chart that's on the list. Otherwise, during their turn, they don't get to draw cards. They only have set of 2, so they only have to have 2 matching cards to then turn those in to get a part. They have 0 draw, they can hold 10 cards in hand, and they can't take anything from the discard pile. They only draw when someone else gets a part for their missile. So if they currently, and it depends on how many parts the Kilted Knights already have. If they already have no, if they have 0 to 2 parts, then they draw 3 cards as soon as anyone else turns in for a set, or turns in a set to get a part for their missile. They immediately draw 3 cards. If the Kilted Knights already have 3 or 4 parts, then they draw 2 cards when someone else turns in a set. And if they already have 5 or 6 parts, there's only 6 parts total, then they get to draw 1 card at that point. Then there's the Hoisin Kingdom. When an opponent buys a part, you may force them to let you see their hand. You take 1 card, then discard a card out of your own hand. So the Hoisin Kingdom basically spies on everybody else, and anytime anyone turns in a set to buy a part, the Hoisin Kingdom is allowed to take a card out of their hand. But to do that, no, they don't have to take it, but they're allowed to take 1 card, but if they do, they have to discard a card from their hand. And then there is Landlantis. Actually, we'll talk about them last. There's the Corsair Empire, and it says, when an opponent's part fails during a test, you may take that part in place of your own corresponding part. What that means is, if I'm testing my machine and my missile, and say my 8-die part fails, and it's a pretty good part, I just rolled really poorly, the Corsair Empire can then go ahead, instead of me discarding it, they can take it and replace their part that they have for that same die. Now, if they don't already have that part, they can't replace the one, a 0, but they can take my busted part to replace one that they already have. They start with 3 cards in hand. Their sets require only 2. They draw 1 at a time. They are allowed to take from the discard pile if there is a discard pile when they have their turn. And the maximum that they can have in hand is 8 cards. And then there's Landlantis. Landlantis can only be played if there's a full 6-player game. If it's not a full 6-player game, no one is allowed to be Landlantis. It says you may take any part in play, so that's a completed part, not a card from someone's hand. You may take any part in play by giving your hand of cards, or if you have no cards, give the next 3 cards from the top of the deck to that part's owner. Also give them the next card from that part's deck. So you cannot test your bomb this round if it completes your missile. So what that means is, if I'm Landlantis and I see you have a perfect part over there that I don't have, I can give you my whole hand. If I don't have a hand, then I give you these next 3 cards, and I take that part, and whatever part it was, I replace with the next part identical to it from the top of its pile. So I'm taking it from you, but you're getting one in replacement. You just have to hope that it's good, because Landlantis isn't in control of that. But they cannot test it. Even if it's their last part, they're not allowed to test this turn. They have to wait for the play to go all the way around the table again, and then it's their turn again. So let's be the United Conglomerated Amalgamates, and let's just do a couple of test turns so you can see how the game plays. So the United Conglomerated Amalgamates start with 4 cards in hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these parts all show you exactly what they do. For instance, there's a body part. Now, if I get a set full of bodies, which have a 2 in the corner, then I'm allowed to turn that in and go for my body, which is the D12. I got an ignition, which is the 6. I got a guidance, which is a 3. And I got the electronics, which is a 5. So I don't have a set of anything, especially since I need a set of 3. And so what's going to happen at this point is, since I can't turn in for any of my missile parts, I haven't even taken my turn. So now I'm allowed to draw 2 cards because it's my turn. And I drew another ignition and another set of electronics. So I'm going to sort those into my hand. Now I'm really close to having 2 different sets, but I don't have anything to turn in yet. So the next player would go, when it gets back around to me, I would draw 2 again. And now I do have, no, I don't. I have 2 engine parts now, plus 2 electronics and 2 ignitions. So I'm really close. I have 3 that I almost have sets of now. Everyone else takes their turn. It's my turn again. I probably should have shuffled these better. I picked up an ignition and a body. that is only, oh no, that does give me 3 ignitions. So I can turn in for an ignition now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That, I was up to my maximum of 10 cards, but now that I'm turning in 3, I'm down to 7 here. So I'm going to turn in for an ignition, which is part number 6. And that's the very first part that you get. It's your ignition switch. That's the first part you test. So as the United Conglomerated Amalgamates, I take the top 2 ignitions off the top of that stack, and then I take a look at them and decide which one I want. Now they're both pretty good. You see one of them is perfect. So I want to use the perfect one, and that's going to be the one that I keep. The really good one I'll give to someone else. So I'm going to take that perfect one. It goes right here, face up on the table, so everyone knows I have it and they know what condition it is. And I'll give away the good one to another player. Now, if you look on that, it tells you what die you roll for it at the top, a D4, and then it tells you what results you have to be successful, 1 through 4. Well, since a D4 only has 1 through 4, I cannot fail with this as my ignition. So that is a perfect part. It cannot break. Now, another player could steal it from me. Jikatagistan could destroy it if they lose their own ignition in a test. So I'm not necessarily safe, but I'm moderately safe with that part. Since I don't have the rest of my missile, I can't test anything yet. You have to have the whole, I hate it when that happens. You have to have the whole missile to be able to perform a test. And so we're just going to sit, let other people take their turns, and then when it's our turn again, we draw again. Oh, I got my first nose cone, but I also got a guidance system, which is my second one of those. I don't have a set yet. I can only hold one more card before I'm full. And glory be, I got my 3rd electronics set, so I'm going to turn in all 3 of those. Boom, boom, boom. I also got a body, which gives me a 3rd body. There we go. So first I have to turn in for my electronics. We'll take that. And I get 2, remember, and I have to give 1 away. So I'll take this one and I'll take this one. They're pretty close to the same. One of them is slightly better than the other. So I'll keep the better one. I'll throw away the other. And I also got a full body. So we're going to turn in a set of body to get a new body, which is this one here. And that goes on my D12. I get 2 of those. Oh, look, I drew a perfect one again. And the other one is not very good. It requires an 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12 on an 8-sided die. That is not great. So I'm giving that one to someone else. And now, as you see, I'm already halfway to my missile. So what I'd like to do is, let's skip the rest of this. I think you see how the game plays. I'm just going to pull the rest of the parts off the top of the stacks for the, I mean, that's no fun. I got almost all perfect parts here, and that's pretty rare. I should have shuffled them a little bit better. There we go. There's a fair nose cone. And let's get rid of this perfect guidance system. Let's take this fair guidance system. So let's say that this is how you finished. I have a perfect ignition. I have good electronics. There's a 1 out of 6 chance of failure there. I have a good engine. There's a 1 out of 8 chance of failure there. I have only a fair guidance system. It's a 50-50 chance whether or not it works. I have a perfect body on my missile, so it can't fail. And I have a fair nose cone, which would require me to roll between a 14 and a 20 on a 20-sided die. So now that I have all of my parts, I have to test my machine. As soon as I get my 6th part, I immediately have to test. So here we go. Testing the ignition first. Can't fail, so it was successful. My electronics will fail if I roll a 1. I rolled a 5, so my electronics passed the test. Now my engine will fail if I roll a 1. I rolled a 4, so we're good. My guidance system, this is one of my bad pieces. It has a 50-50 chance of failure. I have to roll a 6 or higher. And I rolled a 10, so it passed. My body is perfect, but I have to roll it anyway. 5, successful. And now my nose cone, which is actually my worst piece. I have to roll between a 14 and a 20, or I lose my nose cone and have to go find a new one. So here we go. I rolled a 16. Somehow my machine passed on the first try. The game is over because I successfully tested my missile, and that's it. It would be game over. I would have won. That is the only time in my play experience with this game that I have ever experienced a part not breaking on the first test for anyone. Everyone fails on their first test. But somehow, when I'm doing the example for you guys, I can't fail. So, that is DetoNations. It is a 2 to 6 player game where you try to build a nuclear bomb before any of your opponents can get one. But of course, you have to successfully test it. This, like all of my other games, you can tell this one's not even typed. It's one of the rare ones that's still handwritten. Like all of my other games, it needs artwork on it. And to do that, I need your help. I am not an artist, and art costs money. So if you could mosey on over to my Patreon page, I'd love for you to take a look at the options there that you have for supporting me. It starts as low as $5 a month, and that will support me. All that money will go toward artwork to complete games that I have already made and just need artwork to finish them out. And I would appreciate you taking a look at that, seeing if there's something there that you're comfortable doing financially to help me get these games finished and get them out there so that you guys can start playing them. I appreciate your time coming to watch my video. And again, please check out my Patreon page. And you know, if we can't support each other, then the board game world would have never been begun in the first place. So go take a look at that and see if you can help. I appreciate your time, and I really hope you have a great time gaming. So happy gaming, and maybe we'll see you again soon on the gaming table. Feel free to check out my other videos about many, many other games that I've created that are in the same boat as this one. They need some artwork. Thanks so much. I'm Nathan Lusk from Warrior with the Pen Games, and we'll see you at the gaming table soon. Have a good one.